Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. The unified heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua has called out Tyson Fury, his country rival and also heavyweight division rival. He says, "Come fight me." He wants an undisputed fight with Tyson Fury, and he's made these comments to Sky Sports. So there's a social media clip doing the rounds. I can't play it because of copyright reasons, but here's a screenshot from it. So he says, "Come fight me, I've got belts, you've got the WBC, yada yada yada, let's get it on." And he goes on to say, and here's a screenshot which you can see, "And it will be cause for a great announcement after this whole pandemic we're facing right now." So an undisputed fight, I've got to say right off the bat, I've been fatigued by this talk of an undisputed fight for the best part of 3 years now or so. So we're at a time right now where there's no boxing, there's not much happening, no sport, and there's a lot of call outs going on. There's a lot of boxers trying to keep their name out there, keep issues bubbling away for the public to, at least keep an eye on. And I think this one falls into that category, and I will explain why. And there's going to be no doubt some people who are, rah, undisputed can happen now. They're going to get it on. This is going to be awesome. I've been jaded by this talk of undisputed for the past, 3 years or so. I'm stepping back going, how viable really is this? And before someone wants to come along and again tell me, someone did this the other day, undisputed trumps mandatory. The thing is, with mandatories, if the contract is already signed, there's not a lot you can do. As it is, Joshua is signed to face Kubrat Pulev. That's the IBF mandatory challenger, the IBF the most strict. They're not going to muck around if Joshua decides to go elsewhere. But you also have on the other side of the coin, Fury isn't free, so it's not like one guy is free and the other isn't. Fury is also contracted to face Deontay Wilder for the WBC in their trilogy fight, which is locked in. Wilder has triggered the third fight whenever it will end up happening, possibly towards the end of the year. Who knows? There's no boxing right now, and we've probably got months to wait. But Joshua's situation is also complicated even further, that he's got a WBO mandatory, Alexander Usyk, who's also made recent noises that he's not stepping aside again, because he's had to step aside for Kubrat Pulev because they were called at the same time. The WBO and IBF called their mandatories. And the IBF hasn't had a mandatory challenger for 3 years, nor has the WBO. And because these fights are signed, it was locked in for June the 20th. It was announced, the Pulev fight for Joshua. It wasn't like this was sort of maybe going to happen. It was happening. And Pulev has made it clear he ain't stepping aside for no one. So I don't want to hear or see anyone sort of saying, well, Kubrat Pulev might be willing to step aside, because he has said he is not willing to do that. He's getting his shot. And the fact that their fight's going to be delayed and Pulev is aging on the vine by the day, I'm sure he doesn't want to step aside for another 6 months or a year. But why is this happening? Well, a big part of it is this whole lockdown. Eventually we might get an undisputed fight, but for me, looking at the situation, with the whole pandemic, but even just with the backlog of fights, the signed fights, I want to emphasize that again. 2021 and most likely mid-2021 is probably the earliest we're going to actually see this. But we shouldn't be surprised that these comments are coming from Joshua, because his promoter Eddie Hearn has been banging on about this for weeks and weeks. He actually went as far to say that he thought Deontay Wilder would step aside. Then more recently saying, just in the past couple of days, it would be embarrassing if Wilder stepped aside. So this for me is more PR. It is a publicity stunt. They want to, this is Sky, remember, they've been talking to the likes of Dominic Brazil and others. There's been a whole bunch of call outs that they've been reporting. To me, I feel that this is a complete beat up, because the reality is it's not viable to have the fight next. So when Joshua says it would be cause for a great announcement after this whole pandemic we're facing now, He's trying to, speak to his support base and give them something to look forward to, no matter how, impractical or improbable it is right now. The situation won't resolve itself with Pulev and Wilder. Coronavirus will eventually resolve itself, and we'll get these fights that they were already signed to do, but not before. So maybe he can sort of, push Alexander Usyk off, even though Usyk has made other noises. But in all likelihood, they have to get past their next fight. To the guy who said I should look up on Google that Undisputed Trump's mandatory, come on. Don't be a massive casual and say statements like that, because it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing when people put this sort of stuff when things are already in motion. If there was no mandatory called, yeah, Undisputed would take priority. There would be, it would take precedence. But not in a situation where it's already been ordered, the fight's signed, you've booked a stadium. I mean, come on. You got to get real on this stuff if you're peddling this whole Undisputed Trump's mandatory in every situation. Because it doesn't. And I know that there's going to be a few bleeding hearts and a few people crying into their cereal and getting up in their feelings that I'm telling you that you're actually wrong on that front. But you know what? Don't be a massive casual on that front. This is hype and PR, and because there's not much going on in the sport of boxing at the moment, expect to see much more of this. We've already seen a campaign of stuff from Dillian Whyte where he's talking smack about a whole bunch of people and trying to sort of reinvent history on a few things, and that goes for Jarrell Miller. There's been a whole bunch of things. He thinks he's going to get a Tyson Fury fight. He's dreaming at this point. So anyway, if there was an undisputed fight and there was no barriers and could it be made, yeah, I would love that. But 3 years of experience of waiting for this, the will they, won't they, it's not happening for at least another year or more. We just have to, get real on that point. Joshua will face Pulev next, and Wilder will be facing Fury. Or should I say, it'll be Fury facing Wilder, because he's the champion at the moment. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.